Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to live this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it end. Tonight, we gonna let it end. Tonight, we gonna let it end. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it end.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that since Simonstown and Boulders, folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. I see danger in your eyes. Robin Houston with the opening theme song here for the program. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports today. Oh, it is Thursday, February 8th, 2024. I hope you find yourself in a good situation wherever you are around the world. In a world that's absolutely chaotic and seems to be collapsing by the day. Welcome back, folks. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania, 7:38 Eastern Standard Time. That would make it 2:38, 14:38 in South Africa. Over in Perth, it's 8:30 in the evening. And Alter Bridge is not here. It must be too early for him. Welcome to those here at an unusual morning edition broadcast time. I'll be live twice today. This is the first time talking about news stories of the day. And then later today, before the hippopotami, no, that's plural, hippo, gets on the stage, Cyril Ramaphosa, Munir Palapala, will be giving his annual State of the Nation address later today in South Africa to Parliament. And I'll be covering that live with commentary on Ramaphosa later today. So you can tune in for that, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, which will make it 6:30 in the evening South Africa time. So two broadcasts today, the news and then Cyril's fairy tales to the nation. Folks around the world, welcome to the program. Let me say hello to everyone that's in the chat at the moment, and then we'll get into the news stories and we'll go from there. Dylan Combrick, welcome Dylan, always there. Val Cooper once again, Monray Siebert, Sue Walsh, Anna Marie Nell is back, even though there's no Formula One news today. And Keith Alderson, Erica's here. Hello, Erica. Tony Nage, in from Alberta, Pierre Orban, the distant cousin of the Prime Minister of Hungary. Not really. Daniel Prinsloo is here, a relative of one of our favorites, Sandra Prinsloo, from The Gods Must Be Crazy. Philip van Niekerk, welcome Philip. Goedemiddag, he says to me. Well, happy afternoon, or good afternoon to you as well. Christoph Smuts. Ken Ernsten's back. Good to see you, Ken. Always a pleasure. Ken is a voice of reason. It's always nice to see him there. He and Charles Van Onselen bring a little something nice to the conversation. We all do, but I like to point out their contributions. Welcome back to the program, folks. To everyone who's been giving super chats, those who watch the broadcast, those who share my content with others. It's the reality is most reasonable, cogent, rational people who find the program tend to find it acceptable, if not enjoyable, and many stick with the program. The problem is the world is full of emotionally stunted adults who cannot hold cogent, lucid conversations when they disagree with someone, and that's a problem around the world. So that kind of limits how many people actually hear what's said. RJ's here. Welcome to RJ. Teresa, welcome to you. Yep, Pierre is hot in Cape Town. Oh, yeah, no, it is hot in Cape Town, no doubt. It's summertime, folks. Again, two broadcasts today. The first one is now with the news, and then later today we'll have Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address. Wolf K is here saying, how's it? Well, it's early, man. You're dragging my butt out of bed early to do this stuff. It's like being back in the Army. I'm not getting paid for that. As I said, Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his State of the Nation address, another one. Empty promises for South Africans, no doubt, telling us that the ANC is back. Let's see how much of this speech is dedicated to his party. The High Court has dismissed the Economic Freedom Fighters' application to let their leaders be present in the gathering today. There's a photograph from inside Parliament, a place that got torched. So I don't know if they're doing this or they're doing it in the Cape Town building. President Ramaphosa today will deliver his eighth State of the Nation address, which will also be his final one under the sixth administration. Of course, this is 8 years of chaos, corruption, collapse, racism, bigotry, hatred, murder, rape, gender-based violence, farm murders, take your pick, cash in transit heist, collapsed infrastructure, idiotic responses to pandemics. This is the legacy of Cyril Ramaphosa, the man who, of course, is famous for his role at a certain platinum mine a number of years ago. Ramaphosa will, for the first time since his incumbency, deliver his State of the Nation in the absence of leadership of his most vocal opposition in the Assembly, the EFF. Ramaphosa will deliver his son under new rules Parliament adopted, which prohibit raising points of order while the president is delivering a speech. I think that's fine. Let the president get through his nonsense. We don't need Parliament to raise points of order while the president's speaking. Let the guy speak, otherwise it goes on for hours. I'll do that live on camera. You can hear all the comments and questions. Did artificial intelligence write the speech for him? Probably. Yeah. It's likely that he'll be expected that he will highlight efforts to deal with corruption. Well, really? Efforts to deal with corruption by the Special Investigating Unit, who found that Dr. William Kesey was guilty. Now, they're not a court of law. That's why it must go to court. But Dr. William Kesey was found guilty of corruption in the Digital Vibes case, 2 years ago now, by the Special Investigating Unit that he's gonna crow about. Well, where is the criminal case against Dr. William Kesey? We haven't seen him be charged. He still sits in Parliament drawing a salary from the taxpayer, living high off the hog, despite his, according to the Special Investigating Unit, not according to me, his criminal activity. Why is that taking place? What is he going to crow about? Corruption today is worse than it was under Jacob Zuma in South Africa. It is much worse than it was under Jacob Zuma. At least under Jacob Zuma, it was limited to the Guptas and a few patronage friends, but here the corruption is so pervasive, it's so endemic amongst ANC politicians as to wonder who is actually honest in government. So let's see what he has to say about that today. Yeah. He's also expected to talk about social welfare, and I bet he's going to be proud of the fact that, we'll see if South Africa actually changes tack today. Will Cyril Ramaphosa admit that it's embarrassing that his country, under the ANC leadership, has put half the country on welfare? Half the country contributes zero to the economic well-being of South Africa. They contribute absolutely nothing. Half the population consumes and produces nothing, except more babies, that is. So will Cyril Ramaphosa talk about that? Of course not. He'll be proud of the fact that we've put people on welfare. Oh, the ANC. It's not the ANC, Parliament. Not the ANC, Parliament. But he'll tell you that. He'll tell you that. So half the population gets free housing, health care, and national health insurance is next on the table. This will be the straw that breaks the camel's back in South Africa. If national health insurance and one single payer is introduced in South Africa, the country shall collapse financially. It cannot survive that idiocy. Yep. What else? He's going to highlight how his government could have done so much better if only it weren't for Rona. If Rona hadn't come along, we could have done so much more. But Rona, it's all Rona's fault. So, ladies and gentlemen, today the excuses from Cyril Ramaphosa will be, number one, Jan van Riebeck. Number two, apartheid. Number three, the Rona crisis. All of these things. And then, of course, he'll blame the opposition, which they're politically impotent, but he'll blame the opposition. That's what you can expect today from Cyril Ramaphosa. More empty promises, excuses for the failure of the ANC, the false claims of success by the ANC, like putting people on welfare. Look, I'm going to tell you something, folks. I would never be a member of a parliament, legislature, an executive leader and say, well, I'm proud of the fact that we have managed to get 40 million people onto the social welfare rolls. No. I would be a person to be saying, listen, we're proud that the policies we put in place enabled a free marketplace that generated jobs, good paying jobs, and we took 4 million people off of the welfare rolls. Now they're taxpayers and they have a sense of dignity because they earned their living. That's what I would be proud to say. But no, the ANC, typical communist leftist scumbag, will simply crow about their success putting people on welfare. What a sad day it is. It's the same thing here in America. Democrats say, look what we've delivered for people. We give people money to pay for their abortions. We pay for their abortions. We pay for their birth control. We pay for their school. We forgive their debt, leading to a total abrogation of responsibility by adults in society. And they act like petulant children when they're called on the carpet for their failures. It's not my fault. Yeah, that's what happens. This is what happens when the moral fiber of society is decayed by commies and by giveaways. Life is a competition, ladies and gentlemen. People may not like to hear that, but it's true. You don't think it's competition? Anybody sick at the moment? Do you have influenza? Do you have the bug? Have you gotten sick recently? Well, that little RNA inside your body is fighting and surviving and replicating off of you as a host. They're competing with you for survival. Life is a competition. Just ask the Springboks in the veld being chased by leopards. Life is competition. Get over it and grow up. We can't all play t-ball. For those who don't know what t-ball is, it's an American invention so that little kids can learn how to play baseball. You get a metal pole, you put a piece of rubber tube on the top of it, and then on top of that, so that's flexible, you put a baseball. The kids come up, there's no pitcher throwing the ball, which is how you play baseball. Instead, they walk up the plate and they just swing at the ball that's stationary, and then they hit it and they run. And it's called t-ball. Everybody wins. We all get a trophy. Yay! Look, I'm not denigrating t-ball. It's a useful tool to teach young kids to play baseball so they get introduced to it. I mean, you don't want them standing there with a pitch coming at them 30 or 40 miles an hour, terrifying them the first time they step on the pitch. So there you go. All right. With the EFF not being there, it's the most the EFF's ever done for the country. Probably true, Harche. What's this about King William? Will they mention? I'm sure they will, Mark. Hey, Mark de Villiers, welcome back. Mark de Villiers, of course, is the name of a famous author who wrote a book about South Africa, an anti-white book called White Tribe Dreaming back in the 1980s, a book that I read. His name was Mark de Villiers as well. Ramadoos, Windage Waffles again. Jax is back. Good to see you, Jax. And who else we got there? Who knows after a few years what the mutation will show? Now, Mark de Villiers says that wasn't me. So Mark de Villiers is doing his famous Shaggy. Picture this. We were both butt naked there on the bathroom floor. It wasn't me. She caught us both butt naked. Shaggy, it wasn't me. What a great song. So he will be delivering his address not in the parliament, which is still torched a couple years later. It hasn't been repaired by the corrupt ANC government, a government that foolishly allowed people to wander around aimlessly inside the building over holiday season with no guards sleeping, cameras not being maintained or monitored, and the guy torched the building, spending hours in there doing millions in damage to a historic building, which will probably take decades to repair under this corrupt government. So they're doing it in the Cape Town City Hall. No nonsensical parliamentary rules or ANC kangaroo court will stop the economic freedom fighters at the State Nation address, according to Marshall Delamini. That's right. EFF Secretary General Marshall Delamini was emphatic in his message that the party was not going to retreat in its efforts to hold Ramaphosa accountable at the State of Nation address, except they're not going to be there. The EFF was waiting for a court ruling on the parliamentary suspension of its 6 leaders. And since they didn't win that case, again, they're going to boycott the SONA. So Marshall Delamini has got feces coming out of his mouth as he boldly posts, we will hold Ramaphosa accountable. Well, not when you boycott the thing. So Marshall Delamini, another example of the EFF talking out the side of his mouth, not knowing what's going on. EFF will not participate in this at all. All of their members of parliament, the pajama wearing, Nazi saluting. Look at this, Nazi saluting. I guess they call that black power, but that's more like a Nazi salute there. These clowns will boycott the State of the Nation address to be delivered by Ramaphosa today, after the High Court found that 6 clowns were banned from participating. EFF said there's no value in attending when 6 of its senior members have been banned from taking part in the event. Well, that's because they're criminals. They're criminals. They should have been charged with criminal acts. That's what they should have been charged with. The danger they placed the members of parliament by charging the stage with armed security guards protecting the president, unbelievable. Well, that is the EFF. A protest in Howick. Why? People have electricity. They have water. The streets get repaired. The rubbish is picked up. They have an honest council that's actually paying bills and has gotten the city out of debt in short order after the ANC drove it into debt with its corruption and pilferage of state resources. So why are people protesting? Oh, there's a super chat from Nick Groves. He's paying a fine for arriving late. Well, there's no need to pay a fine, Nick, but we do appreciate it. Thinking about you, Nick, I just moved your that beret. I moved it around. It was sitting next to my desk here. I've moved to another spot. Thank you for that beret. It was a very special gift on that trip. So Chris Pappas, the mayor of Howick, is saying the ANC is behind a protest. Umgeni municipality mayor Chris Pappas accused the ANC of deliberately feeding Mpopomani resident, or feeding misinformation to instigate them to protest. So he's saying that they're being fed misinformation by the ANC. Residents blocked the R617 on Thursday. Yep, that's today. Residents were encouraged to avoid the road as the crowd spread debris and burning tires on the main road. And what are they upset about? Well, they're upset because illegal electricity connections caused a transformer to blow, and the city will not let them have the power back until they can fix the transformer. Chris Papa said the municipality loses 50 million rand a year to electricity theft. And he said that's money that can be used to fix roads and deliver other services. Once affected residents have allowed the municipality to conduct a meter audit, the transformer will be replaced and electricity will be restored. He said, also came to my attention, a local ANC councilor and executive committee members deliberately feeding affected residents misinformation to instigate this type of behavior. All councilors from all political parties unanimously agreed the municipality must implement an electricity loss reduction plan, which includes disconnections of illegal users. So the ANC in council voted to prevent this settlement from having electricity until there's an audit. Then an ANC councilor who voted for that went out and lied to the public, saying that the DA is keeping them from getting power. Do you see the dirty, underhanded stuff that happens in politics? It is disgusting and vile. It is disgusting and vile. So, Fleshin is here from 15-minute city of Oxford. RG said, let's be honest, this will be the peak of how connected EFF will ever be to the people watching on the watching like the rest of us. Yeah. Philip says, agree, Chris. Yes, it's going very well here in South Africa. No crime, no farm murders, no potholes, no electricity blackouts, no water shortages, no gang wars, no illegal mining, no illegal immigrants. It's just a paradise, Philip. I'll tell you. I don't know why people aren't migrating to South Africa in the millions. It's such a lovely place with no challenges whatsoever. I mean, the job market is amazing. That people make millions of dollars in annual salary. I mean, what they pay people who work at McDonald's. I mean, I think if you work at McDonald's in Rustenburg, they pay you 755 rand per hour there. That's what I heard. I heard it's paradise. That's why I moved all the way from Ethiopia illegally on buses with Zimbos bringing me into the country so I can make that 756 rand per hour working at that McDonald's in Rustenburg. Yes, and their heads are exploding. They're calling Tucker a Russian plant and a pro-Putin advocate and a pro-Russia advocate. That is just comical. That is just comical. See, unlike MSNBC, Fox News, where he used to work, CBS, ABC, NBC, and CNN. I had to pause for that. Couldn't remember if they were actually a news organization. And CNN, Tucker Carlson actually reports the news objectively, reporting information on both sides. Even though he's conservative, when he reports news, he does report both sides of the news. Well, the funny thing is that when you report things objectively, suddenly you're right-wing, pro-Russia. Yeah, these small-minded simpletons in the media who get their degrees in radio, television, from places like Ohio University and other schools, but have no concept of the real world actually out there claiming. You should see these CNN anchors, their heads exploding, these state propagandists working in the corrupt media. Tucker Carlson's going to give him a platform. What's newsworthy? Why wouldn't you interview someone who is on the other side? That's ridiculous not to do it. It's up to the public. See, this is the thing. They don't trust the public because these elites think they're the ones, the erudite, the brilliant, the learned, the scholars who know so much. But they don't. I'll bet you if I sat down Mika Brzezinski, she couldn't point out half the countries on a global map. You want to take a bet on that? If I sat down with Joe Scarborough, I bet he wouldn't even know details of the national budget here in the United States. He certainly wouldn't know details of the budget in South Africa or anything about South Africa. But these are the people who deign to tell us that we are just the flyover country. We are the people who cling to our gods and guns. Well, you're damn skippy, buddy. People do cling to their god and guns because it's the only thing left. You rapacious leftist thieves have destroyed everything. Morality, language, zem, zer, z, zip, zip, zap. What the heck is that? That's not English. That's ridiculous juvenile mental illness is what that is. Yep. Wow. All right. What else we got here? Radine is in from Italy. Welcome, Radine. Salve. How's it going there, brother? Oh, yes. Thanks, Charles. No criminal politicians with scams all over the land. No idea what Philip's talking about there. What's to say the EFF won't storm the whole shebang? Well, I don't know. I don't know what the security's like. Given the ANC security, I mean, Hamas could walk into the building. Of course, they'd be welcomed by the ANC. Hello, it's our friends from Hamas. Welcome, fresh from the battlefields of Israel. Here's Hamas, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, my special guest today is the head leader of the terror group, Hamas. I, Sir Ramaphosa, welcome with brotherly arms our fellow travelers from Gaza, from Palestine. Yes, I would have brought Cubans, but they had no money for the airfare. Yikes. Well, South Africa has been beaten down. Yeah, we've been talking about this for some time by its own goals. The rand has lost over 50% of its value against the dollar in the last decade. That would be the reign of that guy right there, Mynheer Palapala. Yeah, the rand has been destroyed during the time of Mynheer Palapala. Remember his promises to bring $100 billion of foreign direct investment, when in fact it's been the opposite direction. $63.2 billion of foreign direct investment has fled South Africa. Net, not $100 billion coming in. That is a $160 billion loss for South Africa over what he claimed was going to happen. In the meantime, the rand is in the cuck. It's in the tank. It has fallen by 50%. And that's against a weak dollar. Imagine if this country here was managed properly by legitimate patriotic Americans who paid their bills on time, who balanced the budget, who did not give handouts to people who were criminal alien invaders. We would have a strong dollar, and then the rand would have collapsed completely. So would the euro. But we don't have that. So South Africa is getting a break from USA's own goal in its mismanagement of its currency. 3 million rand worth of mandrax seized. My goodness. In Cape Town. Western Cape provincial traffic officers managed to seize over 50,000 mandrax tablets while conducting stops and checking vehicles on the N2 along Borchard's Quarry in Cape Town. Now, that is what we call a cordon search operation, where you block off an area and you search. That is something that used to be performed not by traffic police, but by commandos. Of course, the ANC lied and said they were a racist legacy of apartheid, when in fact commandos are a long part of the history of South Africa, whether they were done by Xhosa mounted on horseback, or Basotho on horseback, or Afrikaners, trekboers on horseback. The commando system has long established and been a part of South African history, but eliminated and erased by the racist ANC regime, with devastating consequences to rural security and to drug trafficking in South Africa, courtesy of the ANC. A little paid attention to point that has been the case for years, and they've destroyed security. A seizure took place yesterday, and the tablets are estimated to have a street value of about 3 million rand. Our officers consistently demonstrate dedication to the safety and residents and visitors of Western Cape. I commend the provincial inspector for an outstanding achievement in removing this substantial illicit shipment from the streets of our province, said provincial MEC for Mobility Ricardo Mackenzie. All right, we remain committed to upholding the rule of law. Well, good. And I hope the people that are trafficking it wind up where they belong, in a Turkish prison. Well, Juju is banned from the State of the Nation address. Here he is. He cannot attend the State of the Nation address. We all remember that. That there, right there, the clown car show that they are. South Africa's court on Tuesday upheld a ban on opposition party leaders from attending the State of the Nation speech to mark the opening of a new parliamentary session, after they were sanctioned for disrupting the event last year. The leader, deputy leader, and 4 other representatives of the pajama-wearing economic freedom fighters will not be allowed to attend the State of the Nation address today. The 6 MPs were suspended from Parliament from February 1st to February 29th. Well, frankly, they should have been suspended and removed from Parliament permanently for their criminal activities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked breathlessly and reported on the Facebook murder and the Facebook robbery situation taking place in South Africa, and questioned why no one has ever done anything about this. What are the police doing about these robberies in Winterveld and elsewhere? Actually had a person murdered and other people's lives put in jeopardy with these Facebook marketplace robberies, one of which resulted in a murder. Well, an arrest has been made in the Facebook marketplace robberies. And the person arrested is a member of the South African Air Force. Oh my God. South African Air Force member arrested in connection with Facebook marketplace robbery. An Air Force member has been arrested in connection with the Facebook marketplace robbery in Winterveld. Police spokesperson Colonel Dimakatso Nevhululweli said the 38-year-old man was arrested at his workplace on February 6th. He's been linked to a robbery that took place in November 2022, and 2 victims were allegedly kidnapped at gunpoint in Winterveld after they responded to an online advertisement for a music mixer. A substantial amount of money was transferred from the victim's account to the suspect bank's account. Expected to appear in magistrate's court today alongside 4 other men arrested in connection with the case. He said that there's a task team making inroads and arresting suspects linked to a series of Facebook marketplace robberies in Winterveld and Rietgat in Soshanguve, north of Pretoria. Yeah, last month, police arrested 6 men allegedly lured victims under the guise of sale of a Ford Bantam. Why has this not been reported in the media? This has not been reported. So finally, we get some news on this. There were reports last month that I did not see this anywhere in the media. So they are making progress in the Facebook marketplace arrest. It's about time. I mean, this is something I was railing about for months. I mean, it's now February. We were talking about this in August and September. Crazy stuff. Sargon Lunderstedt is here. Welcome. Sargon. That sounds ominous. Yeah. Wonder whether EFF will risk storming City Hall. I doubt that, Ken. I doubt that. They're probably not bright enough to pull that off. So, there you have it, folks. Wow, an arrest finally. And a member of the Air Force. Can you imagine this? These are the people responsible for your national security, for protecting your safety and security. And like many police, they're criminals. Shame, shame, shame. Well, this bizarre case of apparently someone not paying residuals has gone against Vodacom. Vodacom will appeal the Supreme Court of Appeals order to pay out Please Call Me creator 20 billion rand. Wow. The saga in the Vodacom Please Call Me case has taken yet another turn after telecommunications giant said it would be appealing the Supreme Court of Appeals ruling mandate to pay Kenneth Makata, a former employee, 20 billion rand. Vodacom is surprised and disappointed with the judgment and will bring an application for leave to appeal before the Constitutional Court. This comes after the court dismissed an appeal made by Vodacom and ruled in favor of the gentleman. They found that the aforementioned must be considered in the context of duration of the agreement between Makata and the application. The court emphasized it would have been an eminently unbusinesslike, unreasonable decision by the CEO not to have extended the contract it made with him. As such, this court determined the valuation was flawed and inequitable. So I'm a little puzzled because if you work for the company, normally the work product that you produce for a company belongs to the company. You don't get residuals. You don't get paid for that. If I work for 3M, the guy who invented Post-its doesn't get money. He was a 3M Minnesota mining manufacturing employee, one of the most profitable products ever developed, Post-its, which have been copied and emulated all over the world now. But Post-its, the original one, $1 billion a year, $3 billion a year business for 3M. The guy who invented that gets nothing. His work product belonged to the company he worked for. He was working for them. It's the same when people work for government. If I work for the government, unlike the criminal Dr. Fauci, I don't get residuals from companies or get royalties for something that I invent. It belongs to the government, not to me. But the criminal Dr. Fauci gets royalties for things he invented while getting paid by the government to research things on behalf of taxpayers. Talk about corruption. Talk about corruption. Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the biggest frauds ever in the history of the world. It's unbelievable. This guy gets money for things that he did while working for the government. That's work product that belongs to the government. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good news for the Stormers. They have secured a contract extension with the promising fly-half Yuri Matia. Yep. Stormers bolster depth at number 10 with Yuri Matia contract extension. Burgeoning fly-half Yuri Matia has impressed enough of the Stormers to earn himself a 2-year extension with the franchise. The 23-year-old Paarl Gymnasium product, who made his name at Stellenbosch in the Varsity Cup, graduated the Stormers towards the end of the Currie Cup. He is featured for the Stormers in bit part roles and hasn't disappointed in the absence of key fly-halves, including Mani Lubeck at the top of the pecking order. His agent Michael Thomas said Matia had earned himself a longer ride with the Stormers despite the talent available at number 10. Just signed a 2-year deal until June 2026. That's some good news. While the Stormers do have Sasha Feinberg, Ungumzulu, and Lubeck in the ranks, among other the injury-prone Jean-Luc Duplessis, they can't all play at the same time. Yep, so there you go. Yuri Matia has been kept on the roster. Of course, he played in that first Champions Cup game that was squandered by the Stormers against Leicester earlier this season. Well, the World Under-20 Rugby Championships are back in South Africa this year, folks, and depending on what my schedule is, I might attend. That's right, the Western Cape will be hosting the Under-20 World Rugby Championships, something I've never attended before. Of course, I started paying attention to that back when Andre Pollard was playing the Under-20. Junior Springboks are pooled with England, Argentina, and Fiji. That's a tough pull. The event will run from June 29th to July 19th. The 12 best under-20 sides in the world will head to South Africa in June, with the event to be played over 5 match days in Stellenbosch and Cape Town. There you go. Teams will be grouped in 3 pools, with four with the Junior Springboks, who claimed the bronze last year, featuring Pool C. 3-time defending champions are France in Pool A, with New Zealand, Wales, and Spain. There you go. Pool B will be Australia, Georgia, Italy, and Ireland. All right. So that should be exciting stuff for South Africans. Looking forward to that. Well, before he passed away, Hage Geingob, the late president of Namibia, appointed a new Bank of Namibia board member. President Hage Geingob signed for the appointment of the new Bank of Namibia board member on his deathbed. The bank's governor, Johannes Grappa, revealed during his memorial service in Windhoek yesterday. The president was sick, and 2 weeks ago we needed to appoint board members to the Bank of Namibia. On his sickbed, he realized that this nation requires. We sent that letter, and we spoke, and signed the letter's appointment and the board members. Well, congratulations to the board members. So Meshek Chirongo, Advocate Eliezer Nakwaya, and Peter Kruger were appointed as non-executive members of the board of directors for the Bank of Namibia. Well, there you go. So what's next for Namibia now that Hage Geingob has passed away, the unpopular president? Namibia's new interim president, Ngolo Mbumba, has said he has no plans to run for elections in the fall, which all but assures Namibia to have their first female president. Namibia managed a peaceful power handover in the early hours on Sunday after the death of Hage Geingob, the 82-year-old octogenarian, in power since 2015, died after a short battle with cancer. His successor, interim president Ngolo Mbumba, took the helm, but has no plans to run for the election in November. This decision is rare among African leaders who tend often to take any chance they have to cling to power, says the Deutsche Welle. Our nation remains calm and stable owing to the leadership of President Geingob, who was the chief architect of the Constitution. Yeah. And there is the successor coming in. She is now the vice president. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah will be the president because SWAPO, of course, will win this election, regardless of how incompetent and corrupt they are. Well, Zimbabwe is looking to stabilize their weakened currency, which has collapsed 40% against the dollar this year. Zimbabwean dollar has fallen 40% since the start of the year, hurt by increased foreign currency demand from the civil servants being paid December bonuses and weaker commodity prices, denting the inflow of cash. Earlier this week, the crocodile, Mnangagwa, said authorities were looking to introduce a structured currency without explaining how that would work. Wow, they're completely robbing Zimbabweans of their life savings, of their hard-earned currency by changing their currency consistently. This is a country that cannot get out of its own way. This government must go. It must go. The Israeli Defense Force strikes Hezbollah in Lebanon as Israel takes that United Nations terror sponsor. Well, it's not a sponsor. It's full of terrorists. It takes them to task. Victory in Gaza is within striking distance, says Benjamin Netanyahu. The IDF will operate in Rafah. IDF to increase mandatory service reserve duty amid the war. Wow. Julia Sebetinde, who voted with Israel on all counts of the ICJ, elected the court's vice president. She'll serve alongside Lebanese judge Nawaf Salam, who was elected president of the court. They'll hold their positions for 3 years. Well, that's a lady who voted against all measures against Israel in the court. She is very unpopular with the ANC. No doubt about that. An Israeli Defense Force intelligence officer has resigned because of October 7th. This could spiral into other resignations, says Yona Jeremy Bob. An IDF intelligence officer with a mid-level rank of major from the Palestinian Analysis Branch has resigned, becoming the first Israeli intelligence officer to resign over the failure to anticipate and warn of Hamas's 7 October invasion. To date, IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halavi, Shin Bet Director Ronan Bar, and IDF Intelligence Chief Major General Aaron Halava have also taken responsibility for the failure in terms of strongly hinted at their readiness to resign. Of course, that's not taking responsibility. They haven't resigned. They're still in their jobs despite the horrific things that happened, which were easily predictable by an idiotic system set up by a failed government in Israel. Stupid stuff, stupid decisions. Putting your first alert system on a cell phone network. What a bunch of idiots. Amnesty International finally wakes up to the carnage in Myanmar. Amnesty International calls for war crimes probe over Myanmar military bombing of church. The January attack in Saigon killed 17 villagers, including 2 children, when they were attending a Sunday service. Myanmar's military should be investigated for war crimes over an air attack last month that killed 17 villagers, including 2 children. Amnesty said photo and video analysis, as well as interviews with witnesses, indicated the Myanmar Air Force had dropped bombs on 3 locations near the St. Peter Baptist Church on the morning of January 7th. Well, yeah, that's not a surprise. Welcome, Amnesty International, to the carnage occurring in Myanmar. You're a bit late to the party. India is eyeing a $100 billion investment with Switzerland and Norway. India is close to finalizing a trade deal that could see a small group of European nations invest as much as $100 billion over 15 years for easier trade access into India. The EFTA, the European Free Trade Association, which includes Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland, made a commitment, it used to include Finland, made a commitment as part of the trade pact that is in final negotiations. Oh, good news. EFTA, that's not the European Union. That is an alternative to the European Union, one that's not politically based but economically based, which is what the European Union is supposed to be. They are looking for a trade deal with India. Well, Colombians in Ukraine. Everybody is going. Foreign fighters going there for whatever reason. Soldiers of fortune in Ukraine. Ukraine needs more troops fighting Russia. Hardened professionals from Colombia are helping. Look at that guy. Got caught on camera. A 2023 photo of a 32-year-old professional soldier from Medellin who goes by the call sign Checho shows him in his combat gear in the Donbass. Melodic Colombian Spanish fills a hospital treating soldiers wounded fighting Russian forces. Ukraine's ranks are depleted by 2 years of war. As battles with the Russian war machine, Ukraine is welcoming hardened fighters from one of the world's longest-running conflicts. Professional soldiers from Colombia bolster the ranks of volunteers from around the world who've answered Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's call to die on his behalf. 32-year-old from the city of Medellin was trying to save a colleague wounded in 3 days of fighting with Russian forces. Russian drones attacked the group, and shrapnel from a grenade dropped by one pierced his jawbone. I thought I was going to die, said the man, who goes by the call sign Checho. The fighters insisted on being identified by their military call signs because they feared for their safety and that of their families. Yes, because you're involved in something you shouldn't be in. We got up and decided to run away in a position to save our lives. There was nowhere to hide. Colombia's military has been fighting drug trafficking cartels and rebel groups for decades, making its soldiers some of the world's most experienced. And here are several Colombian veterans fighting in Ukraine. With the military of 250,000, Colombia has Latin America's second largest army after Brazil's, with more than 10,000 retiring each year, and hundreds are headed to fight in Ukraine, where they make 4 times as much as experienced non-commissioned officers earn in Colombia. Colombia has a huge army with highly trained professional personnel, but the pay isn't great when you compare it to other militaries, said Andres Macias of Bogotá's Externado University. Well, there you go. There you go. Retired Colombian soldiers began to head overseas in the early 2000s to work for U.S. military contractors, infrastructure, and oil wells in Iraq. Retired members of Colombia's military have also been hired as trainers in the UAE and joined Yemen's battle against Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Well, there you go. So Colombian soldiers of fortune in Ukraine. Generals in Colombia make about $6,000 a month in salaries and bonuses. The rank and file get by a much more modest. Corporals in Colombia get a basic salary of $400 a month, while experienced drill sergeants can make $900. In Ukraine, any member of the armed forces, regardless of citizenship, is entitled to a monthly salary of $3,300. They're also entitled to $28,000 if they're injured, depending on the severity of the wounds. If they're killed, their families get $400,000 in compensation. And where's that money coming from? Us! Out of our pockets. We are funding Joe Biden's proxy war and his mercenary war in Ukraine. It's coming from U.S. taxpayers. We are paying for Colombians to go to Ukraine to die and make money. Unbelievable. This has to end. Joe's administration must end. Well, Germany looking for mineral rights in none other than mineral rich and the next bonanza location, Mongolia. That's right. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier is visiting Mongolia on the 50th anniversary of setting up diplomatic relations between Berlin and the steppe nation. In addition to political talks at a state banquet, Steinmeier is set to visit the Genghis Khan National Museum. He arrived in Mongolian capital of Ulaanbaatar on Wednesday for talks in the resource-rich country as Germany seeks to reduce its reliance on Russia. Of course, this is a vassal state of Russia, Mongolia. People forget that. Ulaanbaatar is keen on widening its relations both politically and economically. Meanwhile, Germany is looking to reduce economic dependence on individual states such as Russia. He's visiting the Genghis Khan National Museum, which celebrates the leader whose cavalry armies forged a world empire. Well, that's when the Pope went there. I don't know why the Pope went there. There aren't many Christians there. Anyway, Germany's president, which is a ceremonial post, no real political power, is in... I remember the first German president I recall was Richard von Weizsäcker. Yep. Former Canadian police intelligence head has been sentenced to 14 years in jail for leaking secrets. Cameron Ortis is convicted of passing secret material in a case that shocked the Canadian intelligence community. The former head of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Intelligence Unit has been sentenced to 14 years in prison, months after he's found guilty of leaking state secrets. Justice Robert Moranger delivered what he said was a fit and just sentence on Wednesday after a jury convicted Cameron Ortis for violations of the country's Security of Information Act. Jury found Ortis guilty in November on 3 counts of violating the act and 1 count of attempting to do so. They also found him guilty of breach of trust and fraudulent use of a computer. Wow. Ortis, 51, has pled not guilty to all charges. Crown prosecutors who had asked for 28 years said Ortis had jeopardized the safety of Canadians. Kind of like Jussi Trudeau. Wow. The head of the RCMP's intelligence unit was arrested in 2019. The trial led the arrest began the previous year when they analyzed the contents of a laptop computer owned by Vincent Ramos, chief executive of Phantom Secure Communications Company, which helped produce encrypted smartphones used by organized crime to evade police. Oh, my goodness. Wow. So the Canadian Intelligence Service, whom we share information with, our intelligence, had the head of the RCMP intelligence unit helping criminal syndicates. Wow. Well, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, has notified Congress that the whitewash special prosecutor has concluded his bogus investigation into Joe Biden's theft of classified information. Of course, he's already signaled that nothing will come from this because this gentleman, Mr. Hur, has already said there will be no criminal charges in the theft of classified information by Joe Biden. Special Counsel Robert Hur has concluded his year-long investigation into possible mishandling of classified documents at 2 locations connected to Joe Biden. Attorney General Merrick Garland said in a letter to lawmakers on Wednesday. Garland said that Hur has submitted his report and the White House's counsel office is still reviewing it for executive privilege issues. As soon as that is complete, the Attorney General will submit a report to Congress. Yeah. Yes. Now, Hur was appointed by Trump as a U.S. attorney. He was picked last year to investigate this case. He's already said they're not going to have criminal charges, so this is all just a whitewash joke. Joe Biden stole classified information he wasn't entitled to have. He had classified documents in a so-called presidential think tank, or whatever think tank, in Washington, D.C., documents that were predating his time as a vice president. So he stole them when he was a senator. He also had documents stored in his garage. These are criminal acts. If a military service member did that, they would be in jail for 36 months. Hands down. Hands down. Well, a U.S. drone strike has apparently been successful, killing an Iraqi militia leader behind the deadly attack on an American base. A U.S. drone strike in Baghdad killed a commander of the Iran-backed Iraqi militia blamed for a deadly strike at the U.S. base in Jordan last week. That's Tower 22. The commander of the Iraqi military group, Kataib Hezbollah, was responsible for directly planning participating attacks on American forces in the region. So here's my question. If we have the ability to find this guy after he murders American soldiers, why can't we take him out before? We know where these people are. Why don't we take them out before instead of letting Americans die and others? Well, the Supreme Court is taking up the case of Donald Trump ballot eligibility. They'll hear oral arguments on whether the 14th Amendment's disqualification clause bars him from returning to the White House. Supreme Court on Thursday will, for the first time, hear arguments over disqualifying a presidential candidate for allegedly engaging in insurrection, in a special sitting where lawyers for Trump are seeking to keep his name on the Colorado ballot and defeat a legal challenge that could broadly threaten his candidacy. Yeah. So this is the Wall Street Journal, a captured publication. Now, the case involves not only the mayhem of January 6th when a pro-Trump mob raided the Capitol. Okay. No. A number of instigators and plants in the crowd broke into the building and used that to incite people to go into the building. Many of whom simply walked in the building, welcomed by police. That's not covered by the Wall Street Journal here. Yeah, he raided the Capitol. Hardly the right word there. That is the wrong verb. Yeah, equally at issue is the meaning of the phrase added to the Constitution following the Civil War, disqualifying from public office former federal and state officers who engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. and gave aid and comfort to its enemies. He's not an officer of the United States. He's the President of the United States. He's the chief executive. There's a clear distinction. There's a reason why that amendment did not include those folks. Yep. So we'll see how the court decides. Joe Biden, the 25th Amendment, must be invoked immediately. Joe Biden is not fit to be president of the United States. The man can't even remember who's alive and who's dead. Biden says he discussed January 6th with a German leader who died in 2017. First, it was Francois Mitterrand, and now Helmut Kohl. President Biden said at a Wednesday fundraiser that he discussed the January 6, 2021 riots with the dead German chancellor. According to the White House poll reports covering the New York fundraiser, Mr. Biden said, when I first got elected president, I went to a G7 meeting with the 7 heads of state in Europe and Great Britain. I sat down and said, well, America's back. And the president of France looked at me and said, for how long? I never thought of it this way. Then Helmut Kohl of Germany looked at me and said, what would you say, Mr. President, if you picked up the London Times tomorrow morning and learned that 1,000 people had broken down the doors of British Parliament and killed some people on the way to deny the Prime Minister to take office? Of course, Helmut Kohl died in 2017, and Angela Merkel, the communist from the ehemaligen DDR, became chancellor in 2021. There were 3 events, and Mr. Biden said those words at the second fundraiser. At the third event, Mr. Biden described the same conversation, again attributed the analogy about storming the British Parliament to the dead German Chancellor. However, at that event, he attributed a reply about how long America would be back to the correct French President Emmanuel Macron and got the country right both times. Yay! But at a Las Vegas campaign event on Sunday, he talked about Mitterrand from Germany. Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. I sat down, I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from Germany, I mean France, looked at me and said, Mitterrand died in 1996. And G7 is not NATO, you moron. This man is not fit to be president. He was never fit to hold political office. He is a grifter. He is a thief. He is a plagiarist, a confirmed and admitted plagiarist. This guy says the most vile, racist comments, and yet somehow gets black voters to vote for him because they vote against their best interest. Yeah, Joe Biden, no, sorry, folks. No. Yeah, the 25th Amendment must be invoked. It was funny how the left was screaming about the 25th Amendment when Trump was president, when his acuity is perfectly fine. But Joe Biden's mental lapses, his inability to climb a flight of stairs. Listen, the Secret Service doesn't have a real job here. The Secret Service doesn't have to worry about the life of the president. There is no assassin that's going to take out the president. That isn't going to happen. The president is the biggest threat to the president. Joe Biden can't manage a flight of stairs. The Secret Service should be holding his arms, helping him climb stairs and descend them, because this man is incapable of cogent thought, incapable of reason. There's no way he's running this country. It's absolutely embarrassing, to say the least. Well, a U.S. official who entered the Capitol building on January 6th worked for the State Department and has now been charged. He's arrested. A U.S. official in charge of diplomatic security was arrested Tuesday for his alleged involvement in the January 6 attacks at the U.S. Capitol. Kevin Alstrup, who worked for the State Department during the 2021 incident, now faces 4 misdemeanor charges. Wow. So let's see. This was 2021. 2, 23, 24. Misdemeanor charges. What is the statute of limitations on these misdemeanor charges? The FBI made its arrest using evidence from a search warrant for devices found inside the Capitol during the riot. The State Department did not respond to a request for comment, but told U.S. media it was aware of his arrest and noted he's no longer employed by the federal agency. He previously served as a third-party contractor providing uniformed officer services to the State Department. A LinkedIn account that appears to belong to him says he worked as a security officer for Intercon Security Systems beginning in 2010. Page says he held a top secret security clearance and guarded the residences of Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. He was inside the Capitol for 28 minutes, including in a room known as the Crypt, located in the center of the building on the first floor. After he left the Capitol, his image was captured by a Washington police officer's body camera. At least 1,265 defendants have been charged with crimes related to the Capitol riot, according to latest figures from the Department of Justice. More than 900 have been pled guilty or have been convicted. Of course they've been convicted. It's kangaroo courts. Whether they're guilty or not, they're going to be convicted. Well, a Florida Democratic chair is unsure if a transgender woman can give birth. I'm not a doctor. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson professed not to be able to answer the question of what is a woman. The head of Florida's Democratic Party said, "Hold my beer." Florida Democratic Party Chairwoman Nikki Fried professed a lack of qualifications to answer whether a biological male can give birth in a video posted by Media Research Center. The video shows Florida's Voice reporter Owen Girard asking Ms. Fried, "Would you say that a transgender woman can give birth or get an abortion?" Ms. Fried replied by saying, "I'm not a doctor. Despite the noun woman, a transgender woman was born with male and external genitalia and without a uterus or ovaries and other body parts necessary to carry a baby. A transgender man can give birth, assuming he remains biologically intact." What? After saying she was unsure about whether a biological male can give birth, Ms. Fried launched into a series of Democratic talking points about telling people what to do with their bodies. These people are sick and twisted. My goodness. You know, their favorite phrase for a long time was science deniers. Remember that? Remember that garbage? Oh, people on the right deny science. They don't believe in climate. No. The real science deniers are these clowns. Let's be clear about a few facts, okay? Life begins at conception. That's when life begins. It's science. It's pretty simple. There are 2 sexes, male and female. Pretty simple. They each come with their own sort of systems for reproduction, and the 2 work together in normal circumstances to produce offspring. Simple as that. The English language has pronouns for male and female. Fabricated pronouns are not part of the language. Anyway, that's science. That's science. Marty, 1970, says, Cornell, what's your opinion of the new puppet president of Argentina? The dude was crying. Who is Cornell? Who is Cornell? Definitely right about Erica. If the biological man cannot give birth, how can a trans? The only old man who falls up the stairs. Exactly. Let's get back to the chat here and see who John Jarvis has made it in. Good to see you there. Dion is here. Okay. What else we got here? Everything's slightly spicy, says John Hoochin in from Arizona, Kansas. I wonder whether okay, I already got that. And there's Dion. Welcome, Dion. And then Sargon Lunderstedt is in New Zealand. Okay, Sargon, thanks for being here. So let's see. In Wellington, it's 2:30 in the morning. Wow. Modern day or Mengele, Dr. Frankenstein, Fauci. South Africa, living hole. Charles says South Africa's living proof that black holes do exist on Earth. Maybe. So many amateur magicians in South Africa always making stuff disappear. Well, those are ANC members, especially if it's money. The International Court of Justice is as evil as the World Economic Forum, says Sargon. Well, the International Court of Justice has a decent history and has adjudicated cases between states. The three cases I frequently mention are Namibia and Botswana over Sududu Island, the Nigeria-Cameroon dispute over the Bakassi Peninsula, and the South China Sea with China. All three of those are legitimate cases. Two resolved amicably, and both parties adhered to the agreement in the Botswana-Namibia case, in the Nigeria-Cameroon case. However, in the ICJ ruling against the commies in Beijing, they simply ignored the court, showing how it's a feckless, toothless beast. Yeah, but it's not evil. I mean, just because they heard the case, it gave Israel a forum to, destroy South Africa's idiotic position, its pro-terror position. It's 10 past 2, says Sargon. Yep, South African Air Force to do flyover before Sona. Why? Yeah, exactly why. With what? One Gripen? They bought 24. Then they can only afford 18. And now they have one that can fly. And they have two pilots. They're going to do a flyover? What a joke. What a waste of resources. Sargon's working the night shift. Okay, good to hear that. Laudy Monday's here. Radine says, from my understanding, if you get captured as mercenary or foreign volunteer, you can get treated. Yes, that's correct. The mercenaries are not something permitted under the Geneva Conventions. You're not allowed to do that. Those are anyway. So yeah, they're not legit. John Jarvis is here. Okay, my electricity came back on, so I'm a little late, says Hester. Welcome back, Hester. Forensics. I worked in South Africa. Now I'm here, and there's no crime. Work is scarce. No crime. Come on, Sargon. There's crime everywhere. I mean, Mr. Ed committed crimes throughout the pandemic. Go arrest Jacinda Ardern. Ruin her honeymoon. Lots of crime in New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern. Lots of crime. Yeah. I hear rumors that Western Cape is going to declare UDI. That would be interesting. I don't know how that would work. They should negotiate it out. What else we got here? Gypsy Backpackers has come in. Welcome, Gypsy Backpackers. Lynn Horn, welcome back, Lynn. I don't think I've seen you in a while. Good to see you there. Get too much buffering YouTube. Yeah, it's your connection. When they talk about think tanks, I think about a bunch of frogs sitting in a bowl. Yeah, that's interesting. Marty, did Trump say Israel should have more power over Congress? I didn't see that, Marty. Where did you see that? Give me your source. The country had a total of 66 murders last year. That includes aggravated manslaughter like drunk driving, killing someone. Yes, South Africa has 82 murders a day. Yeah, you're right. Yep, you're right about that. You're right about that, Sargon. There's a saying in Norway, there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothes. Layer up. Well, that's an interesting saying there, Eric. I didn't hear that before. The only old man who falls upstairs. Who is Cornell? I'm still asking. Paulie, oh my goodness. Are you done fighting fires? Where have you been all day? Oh, sorry, the question was you, Colonel. Oh, sorry. It's okay, Marty. It just came out as Cornell. It probably is a typo. Okay, so what's your opinion of the new puppet president of Argentina? The dude was crying like when showing respect at the Wall of Israel. Okay. I don't know what your beef with Malay is. I'm not pro-Malay. I'm not anti-Malay. I don't. How is he a puppet president? He was elected popularly and against the machine. He ran against the system that exists. So how does it make him a puppet? And who was he a puppet for? I mean, I'll entertain that, but please share me with it is. Crying at the Wailing Wall? There's a reason it's called the Wailing Wall. It's a sign of respect. Look, I'm not going to criticize him for that. I can be emotional, particularly when it comes to my flag and my nation, and I talk about comrades lost in combat. So I would be a bit of a hypocrite for accusing him of that. I haven't seen it, so maybe it was out of character, maybe it was inappropriate. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but obviously you don't like him, and that's your prerogative, Marty. I don't have a dog in the fight one way or the other. I'm just happy to see that someone's saying things that make sense for Argentina, like fiscal reform, fiscal accountability, and not patronage hiring to stuff the ranks of the government to defraud the public and getting that country back on track. He is a populist, and populists come with their own baggage. So, I mean, I don't know. Did I answer your question, Marty? I mean, that's, yeah. Keith is definitely right about, Erica, okay. If a biological man cannot give birth, how can a trans? No. The purple-haired California ladies are coming for you. They are. They're looking for me. What's your opinion on Elon's Julius Malema post? I didn't see anything. Which one, Christoph? What is Elon? I don't follow Elon Musk. I don't trust Elon Musk. I appreciate that he's made Twitter a semi-free speech platform, still censoring people who said things about Rona that Twitter didn't like. He hasn't restored their accounts. He's not a true free speech advocate. And I'm not talking about just any speech. People can incite violence and cause harm. But things are still being censored on Twitter. And anyway, so he's also a bit of a wackadoodle, a pro-drug guy, and I'm not into drugs, so I have problems with that. But he's a brilliant entrepreneur, a man who creates incredible wealth for many people and hundreds of thousands of jobs, and has had a big impact on all kinds of activity in space, on the Earth, and in cyberspace. So, yeah, no, I respect him as a businessman, but not a fan of Elon Musk. But anyway, I didn't see what he said about Julius Malema. I only see Elon Musk. I am subscribed to him, but I only see his tweets occasionally. So I saw the one about Disney where he said that he would pay the legal expenses, or he basically said he paid the legal expenses of people who were fired or not hired by Disney because basically they're majority Americans are being discriminated against. So yeah. So that's what I know about that. As far as a post about Julius Malema, what did he say about Julius Malema? I mean, what can you say? The guy's a buffoon. Yep. All right. So, what's with the PA shooting? What PA shooting? What are you guys talking about? PA shooting? None of this is news when I come on. Is this something breaking now? Pennsylvania shooting. 6 missing out of house fire. Okay, here we go. Philadelphia. East Lansdowne. That's where it's at. Okay. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, this was from last night, so yeah. But this didn't appear in my news feed this morning, and I went looking for news. I saw nothing. At least 6 members of a Philadelphia area family were unaccounted for after a sequence in which police were called into their home on a report a child was shot. 2 responding officers were injured by gunfire, and the home was set ablaze Wednesday. Authorities by Wednesday night had not entered the home in East Lansdowne since the afternoon incident began because the fire was still burning, and they were concerned that several people who were unaccounted for may have been inside when the structure burned. The person who shot the officers believed to have been among the people who were unaccounted for. Multi-generational family lived in the house for at least 5 years. Okay. Large families living there. Authorities received a 911 call at 3:50 yesterday afternoon. While I was out on the road at 3:50, I didn't hear about this. It wasn't reported on the news here. Officers from 3 different agencies went to the home in East Lansdowne, a borough a few miles west of downtown Philadelphia, immediately met by gunfire. 2 officers were struck and dragged out of danger. Both officers were taken to Philadelphia Hospital where their conditions are stable, not life-threatening. Yeah, so interesting. Chaotic scene and massive flames. So whoever's in the house set the place on fire, apparently. Yeah, so let's bring that up on the screen so you guys can see it. This report on the comical news network, CNN, at least 6 people unaccounted for after house set on fire during shooting incident near Philadelphia. Well, whoever was doing the shooting in there probably lit the house on fire, and everyone probably died in a conflagration. Horrible news. Thank you for asking me that question. I was unaware of that news. Thanks for sharing that, Pierre. What else? Token Grippin. Where's that at? Yep, that's right, Hendo. Token Grippin. Brian Lawrence. Oh, okay. I don't see Brian there anywhere. The Houthis are trying to cut the internet cable. That's what it is. How do you turn a red EFF member blue? You order him to cut the internet cable under his sea. Who converted Judaism? Elon Musk or Malay? Yeah, see, Christine says, yes, Elon is censoring me. See, he's not a free speech advocate. I haven't been censored, but my channel doesn't go anywhere. I mean, nobody comes to my Twitter. So, yeah, no one's there. So, anyway. Gabrielle's in from Schweiz. What's going on there? Elon called Julius the likely future leader of South Africa and that he calls for genocide. Well, he's not the likely future of South Africa. That's nonsense. Julius Malema will never be the leader of South Africa. That's a fantasy. Oh, thank you, Radine. Javier Milei converted. Well, maybe that's why I cried, because Marty, or is it Marty, 1970? Maybe that's why I was crying, because he converted to Judaism. Could be. The site of the most sacred location in Judaism defamed by a mosque. That decapitation, that was different. That was last week, yep, in Pennsylvania. Yep, that was the wackadoo who said he was in charge of some militia and he murdered his father because he was a traitor to the country. Whoa, man, there's some serious mental illness going on in this state. Yep. Thank you for that, Radine. I didn't see that. I mean, I covered Argentina last week, but I haven't seen anything on it this week. Wow, you guys have got more news stories than I do today. Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing those stories I was unaware of. I feel so uninformed today. And it shows. I lost 4 subscribers yesterday. Oh, 1 is back. My goodness. Anyway, yeah, look, you can't catch all the stories. I go through the news. I go through multiple news sources, and I pick out the stories I think are particularly important. And not all of them make the cut. So anyway, there you have it. Oh, look, the revenue tab is working at YouTube again. It wasn't working for 2 weeks. Now it's back. All right, we're consistently making a little bit of money every month. Not a lot, but a little bit. Anyway, thank you all for that. Those who watch the video, the ads, those who super chat, those who have membership, all the little bit helps. Obese Pandora in a hijab. Oh, are you talking about Naledi Pandor? No, I didn't see her in a hijab. She's a Muslim, apparently. I didn't know that. See how little I care about people's faith? I mean, I don't dislike their faith, but how little faith matters to me in evaluating a person. I didn't know that she was a Muslim. Someone said that the other day. It's news to me. First time I heard that she was a Muslim. Interesting stuff. It is a wacky world indeed, John Huchin. A crazy, crazy world. Too many crazy things happening. No, it reminds me of that movie from 1963 or something like that. It's a mad, 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 mad world. What a great movie that was. Spencer Tracy, Buddy Hackett, all Sid Caesar, all these famous actors from that time frame. It's a mad, mad, mad world. Let me look that up real quick. That was a great movie, man. Oh, man. Come on, Google. Get over there. It's a mad, 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 mad world. 1963 film. I got it right. Yeah. So let's see who the cast were. The cast were Spencer Tracy, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Phil Silvers, Ethel Merman, Mickey Rooney, Dick Shawn. Who else is in this? Jonathan Winters. Buster Keaton was in it. Wow, he was an older Buster Keaton then. Jimmy Durante was in it. Yeah. Jerry Lewis. I didn't remember Jerry Lewis. Carl Reiner was in it. Wow. Don Knotts. Jim Backus. Wow. Norman Fell. A lot of big names. Larry Fine. Of course, he is one of the Three Stooges. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of people that were in this. It's a mad, mad, mad world. 1963 movie. Erica just gave a super chat. Just checking to make sure it's working. Yep. I don't know. Does anybody remember that movie? It's pretty cool. So it's a mad, 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 mad world. A 1963 American epic comedy film produced and directed by Stanley Kramer with a story and screenplay by William Rose and Tanya Rose. The film starring Spencer Tracy and an all-star cast of comedians is about a madcap pursuit of a suitcase full of stolen cash by a colorful group of strangers. Premiered November 7th, 1963. Principal cast members were Edie Adams, Milton Berle, Sid Caesar, Buddy Hackett, Ethel Merman, Dorothy Provine, Mickey Rooney, Dick Shawn, Phil Silvers, Terry Thomas, and Jonathan Winters. The film marked the first time Kramer directed a comedy, though he had produced the comedy. So this is in New York in 1948. He's best known for producing and directing his own work. Anyway, yeah, the plot. Smiler Grogan, a recently released convict, crashes his car on a California State Route 74. And there's a super chat from Erica. Thank you, Erica. On Route 74, with his dying breath, Grogan tells a group of motorists who stopped to help him about $350,000 buried in Santa Rosita State Park under a big W. Failing to negotiate a satisfactory way to split the money, the four cars began a mad dash to the park, having several mishaps along the way. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty funny. It was a great movie. I love that. I've watched that. Oh, Peter Falk. Yeah, he was in that as a cab driver. Yep. Oh, wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. What a great movie. Edie Adams, Sid Caesar, Jonathan. Here's a screen capture from it right there. There's Edie Adams. She was stunningly attractive on the left-hand side. There's Sid Caesar, Jonathan Winters, Ethel Merman, Milton Berle, Buddy Hackett, and of course, what's his name there? Little Mickey Rooney. So Edie, and there's Mickey Rooney. This is an this was an incredible movie, man. It was a great film. I loved it. Such fun to watch that show. Let's see what else we got here. 1963 sounds ancient today. It is ancient today. The Ties Armageddon days are over. 1999 spells out everything that's playing out today. Joe Negrini says there is a substation burning down close to West Rona. Oh, okay. Well, that sucks. Marty says it's funny how the corrupt corporate media is going nuts about Tucker and Putin. Globalists are going nuts too. Yeah, they are. I pointed this out earlier in the broadcast. Yep. Currently down a rabbit hole regarding... Okay. Yeah, it's a mad, mad, mad world. What a great film that was. I really enjoyed that. That was great times. Yeah, before I was born. What a great movie. Yeah, some of the great comedic talent from back in the day, including people who were in vaudeville. You know, Buster Keaton in that thing. Wow, that goes back quite a long ways, folks. Quite a long ways. Yes, Marty, it was before you were born. It's before I was born. Excuse me. Yeah, before I was born, too. Yeah, quite a ways back. It's a mad, mad, mad world. One of my favorite movies. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like glued to the screen. I was a kid. It was so entertaining. It's a mad, 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 mad world. Pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, Mad World, Tears for Fears. Oh, Tears for Fears. Shout, shout, let it all out. These are the things we can do without. Come on. I'm talking to you. Well, what incredibly insightful lyrics. Tears for Fears. And we love that song. It was so cool. Such lame lyrics, man. It didn't take much talent to come up with those lyrics. How old are you, Colonel? 35, Marty. I'm 35. No, I'm not. 59. What's your opinion of Edward Snowden? Should be pardoned? Is he a traitor to the U.S.? Did his revelations change anything? Christoph Smuts, I've covered this story many, many times, but apparently you've missed it, so I'll talk about it again. Edward Snowden is an arrogant asshat who thinks he knows more than other people. He's a thief, he's a criminal, and his criminal actions and his ego directly led to the deaths of at least 200 intelligence operatives around the world who were assassinated by Russian security services and also by the Chi-Coms. Edward Snowden is a treasonous bastard and belongs in prison suffering for the rest of his life. He lives in Russia. He's an arrogant clown who met up with Glenn Greenwald in a Hong Kong hotel to destroy American intelligence capability because he, as a contractor with access to top secret classified information, knew better than the entire intelligence establishment, than the entire foreign policy establishment in the United States. Edward Snowden is a criminal. There is no redeeming quality about Edward Snowden. He's an arrogant clown. That's what he is. He belongs in prison, and that's the end of the case. And he should be tried for treason. We have witnesses to it. We can subpoena Glenn Greenwald. He can come up from Brazil. Of course, he'll refuse to do that because he hates America. Even, well, he doesn't really hate America, but he does. His reporting oftentimes is, he claims to be an objective reporter, but he's not objective. Glenn Greenwald is a very good reporter. He's done some great reporting, but he has his specific angle, and it's very much affected by who he is. Yeah, so. No, he didn't whistleblow, Marty. Let's be very clear. Whistleblower is a legal status. A whistleblower is someone within an organization who takes legal steps to expose fraud and corruption. That is a whistleblower. A thief who steals information because they think that they know what's right and wrong is not a whistleblower. Edward Snowden refused to take the basic steps he could have taken by going to the Inspector General inside the organization organization he was working for. He didn't do that. We have processes, and whistleblowers, in theory, are protected. We know in practice in South Africa, they're left to be murdered and assassinated. Look at Charles, how he was killed. Look at what happened to Babita Deokaran. They left him out there on their own to be murdered, and now Charles' wife has had her protective detail withdrawn so they can murder her as well. So we see that in South Africa that whistleblowers are not protected, even though by law they're supposed to be. In America, it's a similar situation, not for assassination, but for destroying people's lives when they're whistleblowers. Edward Snowden is not a whistleblower. That is a misuse of the English language. That is an outright fabrication, a lie. He's not a whistleblower. He did not go to anyone and blow the whistle. He stole information as a thief that he wasn't entitled to have. He transported it internationally to a communist-controlled country where he met with a journalist to expose things because he thought he knew better. He is not a whistleblower. That is a misnomer. That is a fraudulent statement. Yep. There are whistleblowers. There are legitimate whistleblowers out there, but Edward Snowden is not one of them. And Julian Assange, while we're on the topic, is not a journalist. Julian Assange is a thief. He pays people to steal information and give him information from states. But Julian Assange doesn't get information from Russia or Iran or North Korea or China to expose their fraud and corruption. He doesn't care about that. He's an America hater and a Britain hater. And he committed crimes. And he should also be in prison by publishing secrets. Listen, we've had this conversation before. People and governments are entitled to secrets. That doesn't mean they're entitled to total secrecy. There are many things the public needs to know. But the public doesn't need to know the things that Edward Snowden released. We're aware of the government's corruption. If I worked now, or you worked right now, for the FBI, there's a super chat from Paulie. 99 Rand, thank you. Ooh, that hurt my ear. Thank you for that, Paulie. If you work for the FBI today and you came forward to the Inspector General of the FBI saying that you have information that the FBI has colluded with YouTube or with Twitter to censor people, that's a direct violation of the First Amendment. That's your first step. That's a whistleblower. Under law, you're supposed to be protected from retaliation, harassment, or even exposure of your identity while they investigate. They're supposed to investigate it. If Edward Snowden had done that and they took no action, then his next step would have been to go to the Department of Justice and report this to the Inspector General of the Department of Justice. If nothing happened then if he'd done something, then you might say he's a hero. It still would have been a thief, but he could be a hero. But he's not. He didn't take any of the steps. Edward Snowden, the arrogant asshat, said, oh, America's doing something wrong because he's a leftist hate wanker. That's why. He's a leftist hate America hate wanker who ingrained himself into the intelligence community so he could betray America. That's what he did. And then he decided, well, look at this. I've got evidence. I'm going to be famous now. I mean, let's go to Hong Kong. I'm afraid for my life. He meets with Glenn Grant. The whole thing is a scam. It's a scam. It doesn't mean that the government wasn't committing crimes. It doesn't mean the government wasn't doing something wrong. It just means that his wrong actions do not justify because of what the government did. Yep. No, his revelations changed nothing for the positive. It did change things. Edward Snowden's revelations cost this government tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars in lost intelligence collection capability. It exposed agents who were giving information which saved lives around the world. They're dead now. And those systems are gone. They've had to spend tens of billions, hundreds of billions developing other communication techniques, which aren't always as effective as what they had in place, to intercept information because of Edward Snowden's arrogance. The targets, the criminals, the terrorists, the Russian agents, the communist agents from China, North Korea, and Tehran changed their methods and tactics as a consequence of the revelations of Edward Snowden. There's no justifiable reason for what Edward Snowden did. Yes, Christine, I was singing Tears for Fears shout. Oh, what's your opinion of Julian Assange? Well, I think I just gave it Christoph Smut. He's a criminal. It's a criminal. Exactly. Why isn't he whistleblowing in China? The song Mad World by Tears for Fears was the theme song from Donnie Darko. Okay. Thanks, Christine. Appreciate that. Which poses another question regarding him. What's the other question? Anyway, there you go. Thanks, Paulie, for the super chat. Appreciate it. That's pretty awesome. Awesome stuff. Yeah, so this earlier hour, the early edition, again, folks, my apologies for that, but I've got things going on right now that occupy my time. Today, I will be able to come back for the 11:30, 6:30 South Africa time State of the Nation address. That's coming up. Public needs to know that Naledi Pandor is helping Iran set up. Yeah, exactly. She's head of the DARCO. She's head of the SA Secret Service. No, she's not, is she? I thought that fell into the intelligence ministry. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, the public needs to know if they're doing dirty dealings. Look, I mean, if South Africa's government is working with U.S. intelligence to hunt down terrorists, then the public has no justifiable reason for having that information because it could damage those operations which protect South Africans and Americans. If, however, South Africa's government is giving aid and comfort to terror groups and state sponsors of terrorism, this is in violation of international norms, in violation of South African law and its constitution. That is a secret that a whistleblower should be able to go to a competent authority and report. Exactly. That's the distinction there. The Tucker interview, going to broadcast it. I don't know how it would broadcast it. It's going to be on Twitter. I mean, he'll probably come after people with copyright strikes, won't he? State of the Nation is going to be a nothing burger. That's true. It'll be exactly what I said earlier. Cyril Ramaphosa will make empty promises. He'll talk about how Jan van Riebeck and the legacy of apartheid and the white monopoly capital have all hampered South Africa and have brought us down. Then he'll come up with the excuse of, well, it was the Rona, man. It was the Rona. We couldn't get it done because the Rona, it really destroyed our grand plan. Your grand plan? Rona didn't come about until you'd already been around for 26 years of governance. Your failure, your kleptocracy, your malgovernance, your misdeeds, your racism, your bigotry, your hatred, your lack of law enforcement, your criminal rogue behavior are the reasons South Africa is collapsing. But he's going to declare victory for the ANC and say, this year the ANC will win re-election. We're back. That's right. We're back in black, the ANC. Yeah, it's just utter nonsense. And he'll talk about our people, our 50 million people, excluding whites, Indians, and coloreds from the mix. Yeah, once again. Yep. Well, I think people would rather watch Tucker Carlson. I don't even know when it's going to be on. Yep. 400 to 800 million people watching it within 48 hours. Probably a correct statement there, Tony Nash. Yep. DARCO is the Secret Service. Believe me, I know. All right. Yeah, I think you're revealing some capabilities that I was unwilling to reveal publicly. Okay. Just saying, Christine. Not everybody needs to know everything in the diplomatic world. There are things I know about diplomacy that I've never revealed and I'll never reveal because it's not something the public needs to know. Yep. What would you say the most effective tactics to fight leftists in political power is defeat them is unattainable? I'd say that we haven't reached that stage, Christoph. I'd say that there are means to exhaust before anyone takes any drastic action. Every word, one fact, be checked. Who? From Tucker Carlson and Pluton? Yeah, look, the left is just melting down about that. Let me find that story. So, the CNN journalist, hang on a second, where's that at? Let me get over here. That's not it. There we go. Okay, beep. This is back. Find this story I looked at yesterday. Okay, yeah. I would report on what Molly Hemingway said in Congress, but I'll probably get censored on this channel, especially as we go forward. Really scary stuff. The YouTube censorship is coming. It's coming. They've already got their plan in place. They've already announced it on their blog to show how they're going to censor free speech. They're going to put, call people misinformation and take their accounts away if it goes against what they believe is the truth. Yeah, it's not the truth. Where's this at? I'm not finding the story I was looking for here. Come on, it must be here somewhere. Marilyn Mosby. Ooh, yeah. Okay, hang on, we're going to get this. I didn't see this story. This one didn't make the big news. This one did not make the big news. Huh. Let me see if I can find it this way. It might be this way. I thought it was under that. So, okay, let's see. It's from Glenn Greenwald. Okay, that's it. Glenn Greenwald, the aforementioned Glenn Greenwald we were talking about a few minutes ago. He's the one that does it. Okay, so let me get this here. Yeah, it's on Rumble. It says, there we go. That's the one I want. So let me slide that over here. Get rid of that. And then I also want to bring this here. This is going to be great. So let me talk about the first one, which I didn't see because it was covered up by the mainstream media. This is what happens to leftists. Remember Freddie Gray? Baltimore? The guy who was arrested and who banged himself around the back of the paddy wagon, and then 6 police were arrested, put in prison. When people assault police in New York are released on the street, criminal alien invaders, and they run across the country and escape the jurisdiction. But in Baltimore, 6 police were arrested fraudulently over a murder that never occurred by this racist district attorney. Mosby. Remember her? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Marilyn Mosby, the former Baltimore State's attorney, Marilyn Mosby. Convicted of mortgage fraud. The Baltimore prosecutor facing up to 30 years. She won't get that. She'll get like 2 years. After former Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby left the court to chance of not guilty by supporters after a split verdict in her federal mortgage fraud trial. The former top prosecutor for the city of Baltimore reportedly began crying as jurors cleared her on one charge of lying on an application, but found her guilty on a second mortgage fraud charge. Mosby gave racked sobs as she was convicted of mortgage fraud, meaning she now faces decades in prison. On Tuesday, she was convicted of bogus COVID hardship claim to tap into her retirement funds to buy one of 2 Florida vacation homes she owns. The charges stem from 2 loan applications to buy Florida vacation homes by the progressive former state's attorney who served 2 terms and made headlines when she charged police officers involved in the death of Freddie Gray in 2015. After being indicted by a federal grand jury, Mosby lost her re-election bid in 2022. A federal jury convicted Mosby of 2 counts of perjury in November for falsely claiming financial hardship during the pandemic to make an early withdrawal from her retirement account. The charges claim she then used the funds as down payments on 2 Florida properties. The trial included testimony from both Mosby and her ex-husband, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby, both criminals, who said he lied to her about their outstanding federal tax debt because he was embarrassed. Marilyn Mosby testified she didn't intentionally make any false statements and signed the loan applications in good faith, having never bought property before. She said she trusted real estate professionals and her husband during a stressful time. Prosecutors said Mosby lied about receiving a $5,000 gift from her then husband, which allowed her to secure a lower interest rate. She faces a maximum of 30 years in federal prison for the mortgage and fraud charges and could see up to 5 years for each of the perjury charges. Experts say it's unlikely she'll serve anywhere near 40 years in prison. But 2 felony convictions mean it's highly likely she'll end up with a custodial sentence. Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby, her former husband, has not been charged, and he told a reporter his work speaks for itself. Yeah, it does. It does. Work speaks for itself. Dude, you haven't been charged, but guess what? They might be coming for you eventually. Yeah, no, Marilyn Mosby, the woman whose racism destroyed the city of Baltimore and helped Barack Obama's summer of hatred flow forward. Marilyn Mosby, 2015, the Freddie Gray situation. When I returned to the States from Ethiopia and the Obama administration was tearing this country apart with fraudulent racism nonsense, which has led to the BLM, which has led to the Summer of Love, which has led to the garbage we see today in America. Freddie Gray was the architect of his own demise, not those cops. They were placed in prison. Law enforcement officers put in jail. And she's the criminal. She stole from the American taxpayer by taking withdrawals from her account and lying about it. I'm surprised that this trial went forward, given that she's a leftist. But 40 years in prison, that's ridiculous for what she did. I mean, 2 or 3 years, yeah, that's probably enough. What's the latest about Texas? No one's talking about Texas today, Marty. Hasn't come up in any news stories. Eric, the interview hasn't been done, so you're not going to find a link. I don't even know when it's scheduled for. Some news I can't watch. The video, get warning, geographical. Tony, that should only occur for like sports things and music. Shouldn't occur for my videos. If it's occurring for my videos, someone's committing fraud. Yep. Bliksem, die werkelijkheid het scherm ons geworden. Says Philip. Okay. Henda is spending more time on X than Facebook. No, not your videos. Okay, Tony. Yeah, no, it's usually when it comes to music or sports links. I get that all the time. I have subscriptions to websites I pay for abroad, and then I go to watch the video, and I can't because it's region restricted. I'm like, well, then why do you make me pay for a subscription? Clowns. Anyway, Marilyn Mosby. Wow. Now, back to the other story. Look at this. This is the meltdown from CNN. This is Glenn Greenwald on Rumble. He's got 466,000 viewers, and this doesn't tell me how many views it's had. Aaron Burnett. There you go. Government shill. That's brilliant. Government propaganda, says Glenn Greenwald in his system update. Yep, that's a true story there, but it doesn't tell us how many views. That's one thing I like about Rumble. How many views are on this video? We don't know. It's got 700 likes. Yep. So here's some comments on it. But there's Glenn Greenwald and his story on CNN's Erin Burnett. She is a government shill. She's a propagandist. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what she is, and that's what she's been for a long time. So why would she change? Anyway, folks, we'll be back in 2.5 hours for the State of the Nation address, the Comedy Hour, right here on Comedy Central. No, Chris Wyatt Africa. We'll be back. Her interview with Zelensky almost made me puke. Yeah, exactly. She'll do an interview with a known, grifter, Volodymyr Zelensky, a penis piano player. Remember that? But she won't interview the head of state of Russia. If you're an objective journalist, you would interview both sides. And I go ask Mr. Putin, why did you attack Ukraine? Do you feel that was justified? How long will you continue this war? What are your objectives? Why not interview him? State of the Nation is on at 7 p.m. South Africa time, but I'll be coming on 30 minutes prior to that. Yep, so there you go. Original account on fascist book because of Chris Wyatt Rugby World Cup post about England sour grapes. What? You lost your Facebook account because I said something about England sour grapes? What does that have? That's not even political. I didn't know that, Hendo. You lost your account because of my World Cup post about England sour grapes. I don't even remember that post. I'm sorry that it happened to you. Wow, I don't share things on Facebook. I only put it on Twitter and in the groups. Yeah, and sometimes on Gitter and Truth. Yeah, man, I didn't know that, Hendo. So sorry to hear that. Wow. You can't access it, huh? Yeah, still, you shouldn't. That's nonsense. Have you written to these clowns? Yeah. Yeah, they got grilled in front of Congress the other day, which they deserve. So anyway, all right, let's wrap it up here, folks. 59 likes. Bummer, not much. No new members. Got some super chat revenue and folks listening in. Thanks for tuning into the morning edition here on Chris Wyatt Reports. Today, the 8th of February, 2024, the State of the Nation address by Munir Palapala coming up at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 South Africa time. I'll be commenting live prior to Malema. I started saying Malema. I sound like Elon Musk. Malema, the State of the Nation address. No, before Cyril Ramaphosa. Hey, Garrett, good to see you there. All right. All righty. Putin was clear from, what's this? Putin was clear from the start. The U.S. caused problems as usual. No, the U.S. is not responsible for Russia invading Ukraine. That's not true, Marty. It's not true. Not true. Not true. Well, they are in some respects because Joe Biden's weakness in Myanmar, his weakness in Afghanistan, his weakness in not responding to Putin moving 70,000 troops to the border with Ukraine in the summer of 2021 made it clear to Vladimir Putin that there would never be a dumber idiot sitting in the White House than Joe Biden, and now it's time to strike. So in that standpoint, you could say the U.S. is indirectly responsible for the conflict. All right. Cheers. See you guys later on. Hopefully we won't have load shedding. Maybe there'll be one time we don't have load shedding in South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa gets up and says, apartheid, Jan van Riebeck, and Rona are the reason why you have no electricity, why 40 million South Africans live on public assistance, and why you have cholera. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. We have a plan. The ANC's back. We will make it better. I don't think so. I don't think so. Catch you shortly, folks. Thanks for being here. God bless. Be safe wherever you find yourself around the world. Cheers.